Good afternoon. My name is Vitaly. I am president of American Freight Trucking Inc., AFT Dispatch Inc., and the director of marketing and customer acquisitions at A2C Logistics Co. I also hold a business degree from Bill and Vive School of Business at Westminster College. This video is intended for all of our clients, whether you're through AFT Dispatch, a carrier operating under your own MC authority, or an owner-operator operating under A2C Logistics Co.'s operating authority. We'll look over the U.S. economy, what we're looking at today. We'll look at unemployment, we'll look at GDP, we'll look at cash preservation and hyperinflation that we're beginning to see at this point. We'll look at freight markets and several other indicators throughout this video. As far as the unemployment numbers are concerned, there's going to be a video pop up here which will show you the unemployment figures from the 1960s up to now. For me, that has been the biggest eye-opener to help us understand where unemployment sits, where it was recently, where it was in the past few years, and where we are with it now. Now, GDP, in most basic terms, it stands for gross domestic product, and GDP basically looks at the amount of product and services that has been outputted, the country's output throughout one single year. Now, GDP in past years has been quite healthy. We've had a fantastic year, and up to now we had one of the best economies up until recently. Since 2017, we've seen an increase, a consistent increase in GDP figures. In 2017, we were at $19.5 trillion. In 2018, we were at $20.5 trillion. And in 2019, we were at $21.5 trillion, nearly $21.5 trillion. Now, 2020 figures have not come out, but we will see a huge decline in the numbers. As far as what we are looking at now, as far as unemployment, you saw the video that was shown on your screen in the top right corner there. Things are not looking good. Obviously, unemployment is going to be a big concern. We've beat all the numbers that we've seen going back to, as far back as pre-World War II times. And unfortunately, that is not a good indicator for a positive future. However, we have some good things that are happening in our economy. Right now, every trucker in America, whether they're an owner-operator, whether they're a company driver, or whether they are leased on a carrier with their own MC authority, should be looking at cash preservation, which means holding on to as much cash as you possibly can. There might come a time when credit will not be available to us. Furthermore, we're looking at hyperinflation. Simplest terms we can look at it is to consider that a $1 bill in your pocket will no longer be buying $1 worth of product or service. That $1 bill will not be worth a dollar, worth a dollar. It may be worth 90 cents or 80 cents or something like that. That's considered inflation. Hyperinflation is seen when it is on a much higher level. So oftentimes when countries, and what we're seeing right now, when the federal government is printing, or the Federal Reserve is printing more money, if you will, what it does is devalue the US dollar, and because of that, the economy suffers. As far as the freight markets are concerned, which I know is something that every trucker in America is concerned about, we have to consider some of the things that are happening that are affecting the freight markets. Obviously, you've seen that rates have gone down, availability of loads has gone down, and we're seeing a lot more wait times at shippers and receivers and between loads. Now, the reason for that is, currently, as of this video, nearly every state in the country, all but 7 of the states in the country, are at some sort of a stay-at-home order. Now, you also have to consider, how does product move throughout this country? When there's a need, there's a requirement for trucks to come in. So it's a simple supply and demand. So right now there is no demand because everyone's at home. There's no consumer spending. We're not looking, at businesses staying open. So that means that there's no production currently. The United States does not produce many products. In fact, Churchill once has been known to say that America's business is business, and this is very, very true. we are dealing with a lot of importing of products, and as ports are shut down, as the neighboring borders are shut down, we're not seeing a lot of products coming into the country, and this is what's causing a problem in the supply chain of this country. Now, you will see how this will actually benefit us as you watch this video. Also consider that there's, the limited freight is basically leading to cheap freight, and this is the reason you're seeing that the dollar amount for each load has decreased. Part of that is because, there's high concentration of trucks looking for freight and a low concentration of loads to be delivered. Of course, price is going down. Something to unfortunately notice here is that some brokers are taking advantage of this situation. Dispatchers are working very, very hard, and while they may not be calling you as often as they used to call you, part of the problem is that brokers are, some brokers, not all brokers, but some brokers are taking advantage of the situation by reselling agreed upon loads and simply telling the dispatcher or the customer or the trucker that the load has been canceled, when oftentimes it has not been canceled. It was simply resold to the next lowest bidder. Also, brokers are not wanting to do packets. Now, this doesn't really concern as much of the leased-on carriers with us, because A2C Logistics has been in business for many years, has done business with lots and lots of reputable brokers, and we're set up with many companies. Now, many of the dispatch clients that we have are newer to the industry, and because this is so, they're not set up with lots and lots of different brokers. And so at this point, a lot of brokers are not willing to work with you if you're not set up with us, if you're not set up with them. So they're not willing to do packets, and that's really limiting the opportunity, especially for the very, very new brokers, carriers who have been in business for 90 days or less. Furthermore, because of the concentration of loads and the concentration of truckers, again, lots of truckers, not a lot of freight, what's happening is that this is turning into a seller's market, meaning that brokers are not willing to negotiate on rates because they know that they can just hang up the phone and another guy will come in and take the dirt cheap freight. And unfortunately, that is the case currently. Currently, it's very difficult to even get through the phone lines of brokers because, believe it or not, many loads are disappearing, especially the very good loads. They're disappearing off the load boards, off the the email lists and the other ways that we obtain our loads within 3 to 5 seconds of first appearing. And we're talking about live, real-time load data. So very, very difficult to get high-paying loads or any sort of loads at this point. And unfortunately, as this continues, this may get worse. And but like I said, there is some good news, because you might be asking, so you've said all these negative things, what now? And the truth is that it all comes down to a few different things that truckers must do. You must continue to work. You must continue to put in that hard work. First of all, you're keeping America rolling. If it wasn't for truckers, there would be no product out there on the shelves. And I know that while truckers, unfortunately, even to this day, don't get the type of respect that truckers deserve for all the hard work that you guys do, unfortunately, it's not arriving. And but truckers will have to continue to work. And the reason for that, unfortunately, is because in order to stay in business, you have to continue working. You have to bring in the less frequent paychecks, the smaller paychecks, but you have to be able to pay your bills, cover your operating costs. And with the way that our trucking dispatchers, the dispatchers and truckers are working, we will get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and in order to benefit in the future, we have to stay in business. It's very, very important. You don't want to catch yourself in the future in a few months when you don't have a truck, you don't have your equipment, you're overflowing with bills and other types of negative consequences of not paying those bills, and the markets turn around, and the markets will turn around. One very positive thing is cheap diesel. So the amount of money that's not being earned is being offset by cheap diesel. Because crude oil is so cheap at the moment, diesel and regular gasoline prices have decreased quite a bit. And that is definitely a current benefit that's offsetting your operating costs. Now, you might be asking, why? What's going on? And, we know what we need to be doing, but why do we feel positive about the market changes? And the reason for that is quite simple. In U.S. history, there's always been market corrections. There are market corrections on a daily basis. Sometimes, depending on what type of market, the Dow Jones, Dow 30, New York Stock Exchange, futures markets, and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, we see hourly and every minute there might be a market correction. Now, the U.S. economy has much slower cycles. And what happens is that in history, there have always been market corrections, and a market correction is coming. And this is why it's important for you to be in business and available, because when the market turns, there will be so much freight available, and the rates will be so high. And unfortunately, while some companies will close down doors who don't take this advice and don't continue their operations, they simply won't be able to reap the benefits of all the hard work they're putting in now. It's just like in life with anything else. You sometimes have to put in hard work and hope for the best, and in time, those positive returns come back to you. And this is where we're at today. Rates will skyrocket. There will be an influx of freight. You have to consider the U.S. market, our economy. It's currently at a very thin line from a breaking point, and so a time will come when products are running on very short supply, and they will need to be resupplied. And when this whole thing with the virus goes out the window, we're going to have huge amounts of buying. There will be all types of warehouses, distribution centers, stores. There will be institutional buying, governmental buying. There will be all types of things. And guess what? All that comes using trucks. And believe me when I say that there won't be enough trucks on the road in order to deliver all the freight that's going to be coming. It's going to be a good time, and I think there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to want to become truck drivers, because it's going to be one of the top premier jobs and career choices to get into. You're already doing that. You already know the business. You're an experienced truck driver. You've been doing this for years, and you just need to get through this period. This has to end. It will end, and it always does. There's always a market correction. The post-ELD high rates that you may remember, when rates spiked from at the end of 2017 to 2018, and when ELDs went into effect fully, for several months we saw extremely high freight rates. That will look like child's play, because that market cannot be compared to what we're seeing today and the shortages in the supply chain. You guys, the truckers, will be the ones reaping the benefits and making the big bucks, and we're going to be there alongside with you, helping book those loads, keep you guys compliant, and keeping everybody on the up and up. We're looking forward to it as well, and we hope to see every one of you there alongside with us when that national buying surge comes back to the country. And finally, I want to leave this on something very, very positive. Something that someone I really admire, Andy Frisella, and I will just paraphrase, but he basically said something very nice. He said, at the end of all this, there will be two types of people that will come out. And one will say that this time period broke them. And the other will say that this time period made them. So I urge you to stay positive and be in that latter category, because when the time comes, and the time will come, it's a matter of time, you should be in the latter category of those that this circumstance, this hard, difficult circumstance, made them. So if you have any questions, please call me, email me, leave your comments, concerns, questions below in the description box of this video, and I'll be more than happy to get in touch with you and talk you through any questions that you may have. And I appreciate everything that you do. America appreciates everything that you do. And unfortunately, the respect may not be there, but I think just like the frontline workers in the medical community, truckers are just as essential. You guys are bringing food, you guys are bringing essential supplies, while the medical community is there to make sure that everyone gets the care that they need and stays healthy. So I'll end that with stay healthy, be productive, stay positive, and keep working hard.